Audre Lorde, Lorde, like the singer. She was born February 18th, 1934, in Aquarius, like your boy. Where we got the purple amethyst stone as our birthstone. She passed November 17th, 1992. She was an American writer, feminist, radical feminist, womanist, librarian, and civil rights activist. She was a self-described black lesbian mother warrior poet who dedicated both her life and her creative talent to confronting and addressing injustices of racism, sexism, classism, and homophobia. As a poet, she is best known for technical mastery and emotional expression, as well as her poems that express anger and outrage at civil and social injustices she observed throughout her life. As a spoken word artist, her delivery has been called powerful, melodic, and intense by the Poetry Foundation. Her poems and prose largely deal with issues related to civil rights, feminism, lesbianism, illness, and disability, and the exploration of black female identity. Now, oftentimes I find the early life the most interesting part, because like, that's what forms you, right? Those first 12, 13, 14 years, that's, you fucking fence. I'm about to go beat that fence's ass. And then I come back and I'm all fucked up and like, oh, the fence got me, you guys. The fence fucking got me. Alright, so Lorde was born in New York City to Caribbean immigrants. Her father, Frederick Byron Lorde, hailed from Barbados, and her mother, Linda Gertrude, was Grenadian, and had been born in the island of Carriacou. Lorde's mother was of mixed ancestry, but could pass for Spanish, which was a source of pride for her family. Lorde's father was darker than the Belmar family liked, and they only allowed the couple to marry because of Byron Lorde's charm, ambition, and persistence. The family settled in Harlem, nearsighted to the point of being legally blind, and the youngest of 3 daughters. Her 2 older sisters were named Phyllis and Helen. Lorde grew up hearing her mother's stories about the West Indies. At the age of 4, she learned to talk while she learned to read, and her mother taught her to write at around the same time. She wrote her first poem when she was in the 8th grade. Born as Audre Geraldine Lorde, she chose to drop the Y from her first name while still a child, explaining in Zami, a new spelling of my name, that she was more interested in the artistic symmetry of the E endings in the 2 side-by-side names, Audre Lorde, than in spelling her name the way her parents had intended. Interesting. Lorde's relationship with her parents was difficult from a young age. She spent very little time with her father and mother, who were both very busy maintaining their real estate business in the tumultuous economy after the Great Depression. When she did see them, they were often cold or emotionally distant. In particular, Lorde's relationship with her mother, who was deeply suspicious of people with darker skin than hers, which Lorde had, and the outside world in general, was characterized by tough love and strict adherence to family rules. Lorde's difficult relationship with her mother figured prominently in her later poems, such as Cole's Storybooks on a Kitchen Table. As a child, Lorde struggled with communication and came to appreciate the power of poetry as a form of expression. In fact, she describes herself as thinking in poetry. She's also memorized a great deal of poetry and would use it to communicate, to the extent that if asked how she was feeling, Audre would reply by reciting a poem. Around the age of 12, she began writing her own poetry and connecting with others at her school who were considered outcasts, as she felt she was. Raised Catholic, Lorde attended parochial schools before moving on to Hunter College High School, a secondary school for intellectually gifted students. She graduated in '51. While attending Hunter, Lorde published her first poem in 17 magazine after her school's literary journal rejected it for being inappropriate. Also in high school, Lorde participated in poetry workshops sponsored by the Harlem Writers Guild but noted that she always felt like somewhat of an outcast from the guilds. She felt she was not accepted because she was both crazy and queer, but they thought I would grow out of it all. Sammy places her father's death from a stroke around New Year's 1953. Wow, interesting. See, when you have, your childhood makes you who you are. And people still can't quite